volunteer coordination with CCAE, and it's one of my pleasures to be able to work with our various hosts and presenters across the country on these e-learning sessions. They are offered free of charge to all CCA members, thanks to the sponsorship of IA Financial Group. And I did that quick roll call, and we do have Ranbir Kang on the line, Associate Sales Director from IA. And earlier, when you guys could hear me, I did say that in addition to monetary support, Ranbir does participate in these e-learning webinars. So lots of exciting things. So Ranbir, are you still there and can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Tara. I'd like to first welcome everybody to the CCA program. You know, IA Financial Group sorry, IA Financial Group is a proud supporter of CCAE and the initiatives, and we're always privileged to partake in the events as well. And we've been a supporter of CCA for well over, I want to say, coming up to 20 years now. So we will be at the national conference, so hopefully we will see all of you there as well. So thank you, ladies, for presenting today, and I look forward to hearing the presentation.
Great, thanks so much. So without further ado, once again, apologies for the late start. I give you the ladies of McGill, Kay Das and Chelsea Bell. You guys
Great,
are
thank you so much, Tara. Welcome, and thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time and look forward to going through this webinar with you today. So, of course, now our slides aren't moving. Here we go. Okay, so my name again is Chelsea Bell, and I work on the Student and Young Alumni Programs team at McGill University. I've been working in alumni relations now for about 6 years, and in my current role, I really focus on developing engagement programs to connect students with alumni through mentorship, job shadowing, through the Life After Your Degree program. And as well as that, I work on a funding program called the Student Sponsorship Program, where we help to support students with special activities, initiatives, events that they're working on. And Kay?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Kay Das, and I have the pleasure of being Chelsea's teammate. So I've been working here at McGill University Advancement for over 10 years, starting out in the events field and moving on to volunteer management, and now to implementing programs to engage students, young alumni, and parents, and also to build a strength of that and that culture of philanthropy on campus. So I get to work on fun things like the Job Shadow program, a little bit of mentoring, connecting students and alumni, and a little bit more affinity programming. So happy to be here. Chelsea and I really wanted from this webinar to provide you guys with an opportunity to walk away in gaining some insights on how you can build effective and complementary relationships with your campus partners, especially with your student groups, and how to create those meaningful experiential opportunities that benefits your students, create a way for your alumni to engage with your university, and also satisfy that core curricular records that you might have. And lastly, we wanted to show you how we are leveraging our alumni network to amplify these learning opportunities for our students. So we've broken the webinar down into about 5 sections here. And the first we're going to look at is how at McGill we are contributing to students' place future readiness, how we are using our alumni network to leverage these opportunities for our students, and how we are building and creating those cross-campus relationships that are mutually beneficial, and then how the LifeAYD program, or Life After Your Degree, was created to provide that seamless transition from student to young alumni, and then what are some of the tracking engagement measures that we are employing. And lastly, we'd love to open up the floor for questions. Now, when thinking about getting our students workplace ready, we had to face the fact that our job market is increasingly disruptive, that our students are choosing universities no longer solely based on the fact of the rankings or the brand name or recognition, if you will, but they're also looking at the resources and the tools you are providing to get them ready to face grad schools or the workforce. And so we started looking at, how do we start to create a program? But first we had to identify what was it that our students wanted and what do we know about this millennial cohort. And so looking at an academic impressions article about how you engage cross-generational and create those multi-generational engagement programs, we started to look at some of the characteristics that were being told to us. And we realized that this growing workforce of our society, this millennial, they are very tech savvy. They're always on the social media. Let's face it, they're the selfie generation. If something wasn't posted, it didn't happen. They're also very confident. They're team-oriented. They're open to change. And as a result, they're always looking ahead to what are their career options. They have career aspirations starting at an early age, and they're a very highly mobile cohort. So they tend to be a little bit more also transactional in their thinking, kind of like what's in it for me before they commit to something. So we started to think about what are some of these emerging needs that we are seeing. And we realized that, they're graduating with a significant amount of student loans. So they're constantly thinking about how can I pay that off? So they want to make sure that they are prepared for that work, that career path that they're taking. They're looking to see how are you adding a value to their education experience, because they've paid you for a degree. They want something more than just a piece of paper. And they also want to know that if they're engaging with you, is it something worth investing their time in? Because are they going to get something back of equal value? So they tend to focus a lot on the relevance of the content and the communication that you are utilizing with them. And they're looking to see, does it kind of resonate with where I am in my life experience? So thinking about this, we started to say, okay, how do we acknowledge this need? How do we try to or make an attempt to? And we started to look at our McGill commitment that we feel speaks to this. And as Susan Fortier, the principal and vice chancellor of the university, mandated, is that it's about combining that life and learning in a single, unique, and innovative educational experience for all McGill students. So looking at that growing demand that we have at the university for more professional and experiential development opportunities for our students, especially with breaking down the barriers for them to connect with our alumni. We realize that as part of this McGill commitment, we really need to start to complement that education experience. We need to enhance that experience while they're on campus, because that helps to build that affinity with them, and they're more apt to engaging with us when they graduated. And we also wanted to make sure that they're equipped to face the world beyond McGill. And so we started to think about addressing their needs. And we realized that a great way that we can do that is to leverage that global alumni network that we have of 275,000 individuals around the world. And if we leverage that alumni and utilize their talents, their time, we can really create a program that enhances that student experience. Then we started to look at our on-campus colleagues and see how can we build and maintain relationships with them to help us in this endeavor. And we also wanted to make sure that whatever we offered, it was an experience that can hit every single point of their student cycle and create that seamless transition into the alumni network. And then we also wanted to make sure that we track our engagement efforts and we see what the viability and the efficacy of this program is and how we could move our alumni along the volunteer pipeline and the fundraising pipeline. So of course, we needed to look at customization and segmentation of whatever we offered. So I really want, before Chelsea jump on board with us and talk a little bit, is for you to think about what it is that your university or school is currently doing to get your students future ready.
Great. So yeah, as Kay mentioned, McGill has a global alumni network. And what we've seen more and more today is that these alumni are really interested in using their skills and their expertise to benefit the university and to give back to the university. And what we're looking at on our end is seeking those greater levels of personalization, customization, and convenience. So in thinking about a program to get our students future ready, we asked ourselves the question, how can we best leverage our activities to meet our institutional goals? So in looking at the study, the new rules of engagement and building the next generation of alumni leaders and volunteers, we found out that volunteering tends to skip a generation. So while we do tend to struggle sometimes with recent grads and getting them engaged, we know that they're always happy and willing to help out students. It's really more that senior alumni and mid-career alumni level that we kind of struggle to find that balance and that reason for them to engage with us. So that really comes back to that customization and personalization. We really need to look at what it is our alumni want. What areas of the university is it that they're passionate about and that resonates with them, and how do we find opportunities that align with that? So in terms of looking at a solution for this, again, we really need to show the alumni the need for their expertise and the great impact that it has on our future McGillians. We need to emphasize that two-way value proposition, so not only what they're giving back, but what they're getting in return. And again, looking at a study, we see that 86% of millennials would enjoy using their skills and talents to volunteer and give back to the university. So that really plays into our engagement strategies. We really need to encourage alumni from multiple generations, so regardless of where they are in their careers and in their lives, to really stay current and connected with the university and with our students, giving them that authentic and meaningful connection and interaction that they really love and appreciate. We need to think about the various roles that they can have that are really conducive to their schedules, that are flexible and that are convenient. So it could be a one-off on an ad hoc basis. It could be in person or online, really doing what's convenient for them, and also always keeping in mind that we're using their skills and their expertise. We need to leverage our alumni as resources for our students. And finally, we also need to facilitate that peer-to-peer engagement for continuous learning. So again, moving along, just something to think about. What are some on-campus opportunities for students that you can leverage for alumni engagement?
Now, when it comes to implementing the program, we realized that a pivotal role was having our campus partners buy in on this, because it wasn't about creating something new. It was about looking at what is existing and see how we can complement it or fill in the gaps. Again, the idea was about integrating our engagement efforts into existing initiatives on campus and being able to leverage those partnerships to see this program to fruition. So again, going back to that opportunity to kind of break down some of those silos and create those cross-functioning collaboration. So when we thought about establishing a partnerships with on-campus colleagues, we really looked at those units that are student-facing. And we really wanted to make sure that when we cultivate them as allies, that there was a buy-in, that there was a clear understanding that there's mutual beneficial goals and objectives that kind of overlap, and let's not compete, but rather complement or collaborate with each other. So we started to look at how our partners were helping us, or in their own units, developing and segmenting experiences for the students, and how we could leverage those student leader roles on campus to really create those collaborations that allow us to hit the target markets that we wanted and speak to the students and resonate with them, and kind of make sure that we position the alumni office as a part of their journey. We also wanted to make sure that our advancement team was seen as the clearinghouse for alumni engagement. So not just us bringing the alumni piece to the table, but if our campus colleagues were engaging with alumni, especially in the student experience, we wanted to know about that. Because again, it goes back to aiding us to tracking our engagement efforts in our internal database, but it also helps us to kind of move our alumni along the pipeline. And when our fundraising colleagues were talking to them, we're getting a full picture of what our alumni are doing in terms of connecting back with the university. We also saw it as an opportunity for us to integrate our program offerings into existing opportunities on campus. And so seeking out those opportunities to partner with allowed us to really add value, not just to our programs, but also to our campus colleagues' programs. It allowed us to really enrich the student experience by providing those niche and unique opportunities, allow us to segment and target our audience in varying ways. So for example, we were able to figure out what is it that our Indigenous student population wants? What is it that our Black student networks are looking for? What about the women across the STEM fields on campus? What is it that they want? So rather than thinking that we know what it is that the students want, we let our campus colleagues kind of guide us a little bit in that direction. And we also showed them what are the two-way value proposition. How are we helping you reach your goals and objectives while reaching our goals and objectives? So again, let's work together. That was the mantra. Now, when thinking about what kind of benefits we would get from this partnership in working with our campus colleagues, we realized quickly that they can contribute to the program planning and the discussions overall for the year, but it also improved our connection with our students by introducing them to the McGill Alumni Network from the moment they step on campus. So we kind of created that tagline of McGill is with you, not just throughout the 4 years you're on campus, but beyond. And we are always going to be a part of your life. So we started to build that affinity. So that's what it allowed us. It also gave us the opportunity to really identify and create offerings that align with the university's objectives as a whole. It allowed us to kind of work with student leaders on campus to reach out to their peers, to get our message across, to kind of make our brand part of that conversation, to put us on their radars, if you will. We also realized that it allowed us to just kind of break down those barriers between alumni and students and facilitate that connection with them as best as we could through cross promotions. We were able to also reach a wider audience, ability to segment, target different audience in different ways, whether it's through listservs, whether it's through our alumni students' Facebook pages, Instagram, whether it was on Twitter, tabling at events, you name it. This gave us a wide range of opportunity to reach out and start that conversation with our students and that engagement efforts. And then when it came to evaluating the programming and receiving that valuable feedback, we didn't just have to rely on surveys. We also got our campus colleagues to tell us directly because they're in contact with students on a daily basis and they're hearing those demands, they're hearing those complaints, they're hearing those desires for engagement. And that really helps us in streamlining our activities so that we can really meet the needs of our students. So as you move along and Chelsea gets back online here, I really want you guys to think about those on-campus units that you are currently partnering with to enhance the student experience, how that relationship works, and what are the two-way value propositions that you give and get.
So in looking at getting our students future ready and really creating that seamless transition from when they're a student to when they graduate, that's kind of where the whole Life After Your Degree program for us was born. So what exactly is Life After Your Degree, or LifeAYD as we call it for short? LifeAYD is a series of events and workshops we run throughout the course of the year, really focused on helping our students prepare and to give them those life transition and career skills to really plan for success following graduation. We focus mostly on upper year students. However, the program is open to any student who's interested in participating. We really want to help them in their pre and postgraduate development. And it's really important for us that we inform them that once they graduate and become alumni, they still have a great network of support and so many benefits and services available to them. So in thinking about branding this program, we really wanted to make sure that it could stand on its own and was easily recognizable to students. So in addition to word of mouth and promotion online, we created this kind of postcard size handout for students, which really, as you can see, gives them a snapshot of the program. So, a quick intro of the program and the different events we organize, our website where they can get more specifics and details about the actual events and the various offices that we partner with. Now, starting to plan for this program, we really had to determine our objectives and our desired outcomes. So for one, again, we really just wanted to cultivate that seamless continuum from when they're a student to when they graduate, from classroom to graduate studies or the workplace. We wanted to showcase the reach and scope of the vast McGill Alumni Network and its role in enhancing that student experience. And more importantly, we really wanted to achieve an overall participation rate of 10 to 12% of our upper year students. And finally, it was important for us to really deepen those on-campus partnerships to leverage existing and new opportunities to broaden our reach and scope. So again, thinking about the whole planning process and how we kind of go through it throughout the year, I mentioned that we had to determine our program objectives. We also had to identify which campus partners we wanted to work with and who would kind of make sense to work with on a program like this and what they could bring to the table. With that committee and our campus partners, we had to then set the frequency of our meetings. We assigned roles. We put together a document outlining in detail all of our responsibilities. And then we really had to identify who our target audience was. And then once that's done, how do we really target this audience using a variety of different ways and different formats for success? And then in thinking about our events and how do we promote these events and get the word out about our program, how are we going to cross-promote our events, work with our campus partners to get the word out on social media, through on-campus tabling at events, etc. And then finally, closing the year off, how are we going to collect our feedback and really evaluate this program? What did students like? What did they not like? What events did they want to see take place that we could think about for the future of the program? What gaps could we fill? And finally, how do we track our engagement? Very important to think about this, not only on the student perspective, but on the alumni perspective as well. So then kind of getting into the more specific events that we're planning for this program, we really needed to ensure that we have a variety of offerings. We know that our target audience is students, but within that target audience, there are very many different segments that we're looking at, and those different segments have different needs and different wants of their own. So really making sure that we provide a variety of activities and events that resonate with each of these cohorts. We also needed to think of different ways we could incorporate and support our existing campus initiatives. So for example, working with our Indigenous population is so important, supporting our Indigenous population, having Indigenous alumni to connect with and speak with students is something of great value that they wouldn't necessarily get in a classroom, but that we could provide as part of this program. And then finally, we needed to determine things like the budget for each event. So are you working with no budget? Do you have a couple $100 or $1,000? Regardless, we had to figure out how to work within that budget using what we had to put on the best event possible. Thinking about the format, do we want to do an in-person versus an online event? The timing, is it better for students? And also thinking of the alumni to do something during the day or in the evening, and the size and scale of the event as well. So then getting more into the specific events that we offer, when planning, we really kind of had in mind and placed all of our events into 4 different buckets that you see here. So for the first one here, professional development. These are activities that are really geared towards helping students get ready and prepared for their career and for starting that first job when they graduate. So for example, this year we have a job shadowing program that we have put into place where we have 125 students who are going to be matched with alumni in 5 different cities to actually visit their place of work and learn about the day-to-day of these jobs, giving them that real life experience. And then next we have our networking mixers and insight sessions. So this is really, we know how important it is for recent graduates to build that professional network. So these events are really about giving them that insider perspective and letting them have those connections with alumni to hear about their experiences to really help them for the future and when they're working and in their jobs. So for example, this year, during homecoming, we put on a networking event where we invited students and alumni representing a variety of different fields and industries. And it was really just a chance for students to chat with these alumni and hear about the day-to-day in their jobs and give them that advice and tips and things to help them and things for them to think about when thinking of the types of jobs and industries that they wanted to go into after graduation. And then next we have our skill-based workshops. And these are really opportunities geared towards teaching students those skills that they wouldn't, again, necessarily learn and get in a classroom. So something more like developing their soft skills, professional etiquette. For example, in the past, we put on a dining etiquette workshop where, you know, they would learn things that they think about. Again, they wouldn't learn this in a classroom, but if they're going, you know, on an interview or have a business lunch, what are the types of etiquette skills they should keep in mind in situations like this? And then something like managing your finances and taking care of your personal health and wellness. So then finally, we have our career tools and resources. So here we really try to work with our career office in the various workshops and events that they already put on. So for career advising, resume reviews, things like that, and partnering with them and bringing those into the LifeAYD program and complementing them. So for example, we recently put on an event called the Career Success Package, where students had the opportunity to attend the event and meet with alumni working, again, in different fields where they would receive career advice from them, advising. These alumni would take a look at their CVs and their cover letters and give them advice on how to kind of polish them and improve them. And as well, they got a free LinkedIn headshot during this event. And also they had the opportunity to learn about McGill Connect, which is McGill's exclusive online networking and mentoring platform.
So once our program is up and running for the year, we really needed to kind of look at those ROIs to kind of measure the work that we're putting in, and then think about how are we going to track these engagement efforts, and how are we going to assess whether the program is viable for future iterations outside of just the surveys that we receive. So we looked at some of the key metrics that we'd like to measure. And what we looked at was tracking of the alumni and the student engagement in the internal database, thinking about how we're integrating some of those experiential offerings in the student's co-curricular record. So for instance, Chelsea mentioned this year, we are placing over 125 students in 5 cities to get an opportunity to spend time, a day or one or more days over the reading week to learn about the career area of their interest. This is something that we've created sort of a My Path on our core curricular record, where it tracks the engagement level of the student. Did they identify what their learning goals were going into the Job Shadow program? Did they actually participate in it? And then after it, did they provide their feedback and their reflections on what it is that they learn? And how do we track that into that co-curricular record so that they can put it? It's sort of like an unofficial transcript, if you will, but it really helps them when it comes to preparing their CV for job opportunities. Then we looked at what qualitative and quantitative metrics we're going to be using to gauge the involvement and interest of our target participants. And then how are we going to use this data to further cultivate relationships with our alumni and students, especially when it comes to building our fundraising pipeline and shaping other advancement efforts. So we looked at things such as event attendance. Did we meet the target goal, the percentage of registered versus attended? Survey feedback, looking again at that Net Promoter Score, how satisfied our participants were in the activity that they got offered. Social media engagement, how did the postings on our LifeAYD website do, or if we posted on other student pages, social media pages, was there likes, were there posts, were there shares, were there comments? What was the engagement on that? We looked at terms of our students and our alumni who participated in our activities. Did they move on as volunteers? Did we identify any first-time volunteers? What other opportunities did they go on to on campus and volunteered? And how many contact informations or updates that we received as part of this? And then also the giving patterns of our alumni or our students with the senior class gifts. Did that resonate? Did we see any uptake from the participants in this program? For the 2018 LifeAYD programming, I just want to share a little bit with you guys some of the outcomes that we got from it. We noticed that for our in-person events, we had an average attendance rate of 77%, and then for the online events, 42%. 1,800 students of upper year students were unique participants in the program over the past year, and we were able to engage 325 unique alumni as volunteers and move them along that pipeline. We also were able to track and capture updated contact information from this audience through our registration channels. And our social media presence around the events that we promoted, they reached up to a 5.5K target audience and around 200 post clicks and shares on average for the event. So it really told us that what we were offering and the ways that we were communicating to our students, it was resonating on some scale with them, and they were engaging with us. And so we'd like to kind of open the floor out to anyone has any questions, but just wanted to leave you guys with one last food for thought, and is thinking about the concrete steps that you are currently taking to prepare your students for the workplace or grad school, if you will, and how you're engaging your campus partners in these opportunities and how you're leveraging that alumni network. And whether you're working in a small scale environment or a medium to large scale environment, the events really can take on a life of its own. It's not about creating something new. It's about looking at what currently exists for your students and asking, how can you complement that? How can you fill in those missing gaps? And who are those student-facing partners that you can work with to leverage these opportunities? And what are your student groups doing on campus? Because they're organizing tons of events for their peers. How can you be part of that? How can you position your alumni office as part of their conversation, their dialogue, if you will, while they're on campus? Because I promise you, it makes the engagement effort a little bit easier for us when they graduate, especially with budget and staff restraints.
Perfect, folks. This is Tara again. So thank you, Chelsea and Kay. As a reminder, lines are muted. So we'll take a moment to go through some Q&A and then take a risk and open up phone lines to see about that discussion. So again, folks, I strongly encourage you, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat box. Just a question for you ladies, as folks are getting their thoughts together. Is this program bilingual? Because you're obviously in Quebec?
Very good question. There are one or two offerings under the program that touches on the Francophone population, but because our students are fully fluent in English and French and they function mostly in English, most of our programs are Anglophone.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, but for example, like with the job shadowing, we have certain companies that are completely a Francophone environment. So our students, if they're bilingual or Francophone students, they get participate in that. If we're offering something specifically targeting the Francophone community, then the programs will be in French.
Okay. And do you use a networking program to help facilitate some of these one-on-one contacts?
Yes, I think for us with Chelsea and I, we really look at, it's more about our colleagues that are working in the regional, working with the different regions, working in the faculty in the advancement office. We usually reach out and tap into their networks that they know. We also, with our alumni volunteers, we quite often tell them, if you know of one of your peers who are working in any fields that are interested in volunteering for McGill, bring us on board. We also look at our alumni groups as a partner, our career and planning offices. So we really tap into everywhere in the McGill community to get aid with this program. And a lot of our volunteers, alumni volunteers that participate, or speakers, they are 9 out of 10 fully bilingual. So our Francophone students, our Anglophone students, they're able to ask their questions, even if the program is not tailored fully in French or fully bilingual, they're able to still ask their questions and get the information that they want in the language of their preference.
Perfect. So that's great, and I think really interesting. Do you have any a wish list for where this program goes, or another piece that could be offered to folks as you continue to evolve?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to let Chelsea take this first.
That's a tough one. I mean, honestly, it's just, there's so many things that we have on our wish list, to be honest, but unfortunately, we can't do everything. So really for me, it's more just focusing, again, what we were talking about, hearing from our students and filling those gaps and what do they really want, because they're the ones that really need to tell us what it is that they can benefit from. So yeah, we do. We always have things on our wish list. We always have like a running list of new events that we want to do and that we have, you know, ideas to work with campus partners on, but pinpointing them is tough. It's really about listening to the students and what they want.
I do agree, it's listening to the student needs. And I think that for me, it's about keeping that McGill commitment always in top of mind. And it's about enhancing that student experience. It's making sure that whatever engagement efforts we put forth, that how is that not just benefiting the target population, but also feeding to our advancement efforts, especially on our philanthropic side of things. And so for me, I'm always wanting to know how can we connect those alumni and students for more experiential opportunities. So for me, looking forward, I would love to see more internship opportunities integrated into this, perhaps summer employment, and really more deepening those cross collaborations, if you will, with our student groups on campus. I'd like to see us being part of the career and development opportunities that they're offering to their peers. Because when I look, for example, recently in the Faculty of Management, they held a conference, a case competition conference, and they had over 300 students attending their events. I want to know, how did they accomplish that? What is it that they're doing that is different from what we are doing? And so instead of competing with them, I want to be part of that journey. I want to be able to organize those things that they're doing. So it goes back again to creating those relevant offerings that are targeting our students within their life experience while they're on campus.
Great. So folks, we're gonna unmute the phone lines in one quick moment. So if you have any questions, we will have the line open for them to be posed directly. And then we do have some time on the webinar. So if you would like to broach that discussion, maybe share some of what you might be doing in terms of support for your young alumni, I'm sure Kay and Chelsea will be happy to hear that. So I think it might take a quick second for those lines.
No worries, we definitely want to hear from others.
There we go. I'm hearing a lot of background noise, so I think folks might be unmuted. Are you out there, webinar attendees? Maybe? Hello? Folks?
I'm still here, Tara. It's Ranbir.
Hi, Ranbir. I hear lots of other noise, so I think folks are out there. I can see names.
Well, it was a great presentation.
Thank you. And you know, just to point out as well, I mean, following the webinar, if you have further thoughts and you kind of, you know, are thinking about it a little bit more later, we're always open and always here if you want to get in touch with us. We're always happy to jump on a call and just brainstorm, talk about our programs, help each other out. We love hearing about what other schools are doing, what's working, what's not working. So just throwing that out there. If anybody has any thoughts that occur to them after the webinar, we're definitely here for that as well.
Perfect. A question did come in regarding the presentation itself. So the comment was, it was a great presentation. No specific questions, but is it possible to copy after? So these webinars are recorded and available on demand. So you can reach out to us. You will get an evaluation following the webinar. So you can either email me directly or respond to that evaluation requesting a copy of the deck, and you'll receive the full piece.
Perfect.
So I hope that answered that question. So we'll give it another quick moment. Folks, your lines are unmuted. If you do have questions you would like to pose to Chelsea and Kay.
I think they're taking it easy on us today.
They're all processing.
They're probably feeling a little bit sad for us given the cold weather we're having.
So that's great. Folks on the line, if you, once again, I do encourage you while you have Kay and Chelsea here, if you have questions for them, please do. I do know that there are programs of these natures being run in the very least in pieces. So I've heard of a lot of those etiquette dinners and a lot of those LinkedIn lunches occur across the board, because when people leave school, some of those non-tangibles are lacking sometimes. When someone has been in a library for the last couple of years and maybe have been working part-time and CV tweaking and how to dress and how to act, it's not intuitive.
No, and I think you hit on the note. These programs they're existing. They're on one-off. I think with the Life After Your Degree program, what it is not really a new program, if you will, if I may be bold to say that. It really is a reconstituting of what already existing, and it's a repackaging, if you will, of ad hoc events that typically stand on their own, but it's about putting them all together in a neat package for our students. It's about making it seem seamless, if you will. And it's about working in a cross-functional manner with our campus colleagues, rather than us trying to engage our students, but then we have campus units that are engaging with students. They're frontline staff with students and they're speaking to them. So it's more about saying, hey, you are doing this and I would like to do this. How can we work together? And make sure that we're hitting those needs of the students and we're making it easy on them. Because let's face it, this cohort, they are getting news and information coming at them from every corner. And you really have to grab their attention within 2 or 3 seconds. Otherwise, you've lost them. And so if they're engaging right now with those student-facing units and they're engaging with their student organizations, then we want to be there. We want to make sure that the alumni network, the alumni office, our advancement efforts, that it's part of that conversation. It's part of that journey, so that we don't wait until they graduate and then try to connect with them. Right. So it's about from day one.
It's a great point. And so we do have a question that has come in. In the presentation, you or Chelsea may have mentioned that engaging Indigenous students and alumni through LifeAYD. And so this individual was wondering how you do that and how you communicate the opportunity to both of those parties.
Oh, that's a good question. I like that. Essentially, we have what's called an Indigenous Student Alliance group on campus. It's about 2 years old. We also have a First Peoples House. And they typically organize 2 or 3 or 4 activities during the year to kind of bring the Indigenous community together. And so what we did was Chelsea runs as a staff rep for a group called the McGill Alumni Student Engagement Council. And on it, she typically chooses about 20 student leaders from across campus to sit on this group. And one of those leaders are someone from the Indigenous Student Alliance. And we simply said to them, we want to make sure that we are not kind of doing that one size fits all across the board. How can we engage Indigenous students? How can we add value to their experience? And the answer that came back to us is, we want to connect with alumni. The events that we currently have are events that are connecting the Indigenous community, but it's not zeroing or focusing in on Indigenous alumni with Indigenous student connections. And we want to know, how can we get that? We want, because it's a unique experience for them. And they want to know, how are they navigating their job market? How are they dealing with grad school if they went on? How are they handling their health and mental well-being? So there was quite a variety of things that they wanted. So what we did was we looked into our internal database, and we also use LinkedIn, I should say, as a great resource for finding our alumni. And we started to look at what Indigenous alumni we have living and working within the Montreal and Ottawa region, and how could we create a young professional panel discussion. So it was called Indigenous Networking 101, and it was about providing that perspective that they wouldn't necessarily get. And how do we bridge those gaps and bringing them together? And it was a really successful event. I can kid you not, it cost us about $120 to organize. And that was simply in offering the refreshments. We used a regular classroom on campus, and we brought the alumni. They came in, they sat down, we had questions. We did start out with a panel discussion, and the students came up with their own questions. That's the benefit about working, I should say, with our campus partners, is that they help us with creating those content. They help us with coming up with those questions, help us with coming up with the communication plan. So it's really a true partnership in every sense of the word.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, folks, any questions either through the chat box or the Q&A? And your lines are unmuted. Kay, the individual who asked that question, said thank you. So I think you did.
Oh, you are very welcome.
A great job on that response.
And I should probably point out, just to fill some time here in the dead air, is one of the things that Chelsea does, and we tend to look at, is we look at the student groups that we have on campus. And we look at what faculty, what unit, what department they're in. And we try to see what their traction or their activities are on social media, so we can kind of see who are the student groups that are very active on campus, that are organizing events and stuff. And we look at what is it that they're offering. Do we have anything that can be as an add-on to that or complement it? Or should we try to get involved and bring the alumni piece to the table? So a lot of times it's not even about organizing the event itself or contributing budget or anything to it. It's simply about, you need to have 3 alumni at this event. We have 3 alumni in that area that we want to deepen our engagement with them. Let's bring them on board. So it's, as I said before, the programming that are offered under Life After Your Degree, they exist in some form or another on campus. It's just a matter of connecting with those individuals or units or organizations that are offering it and seeing how you can work together to package it all in one comprehensive way and offer it to your students.
Fabulous. Don't reinvent the wheel.
That's right. Exactly.
Right before we close, a question did come in. Out of curiosity, the individual would like to know, how many people are in your alumni office?
Oh, for our student and young alumni program, it is literally a supervisor and 2 of us. We had somebody recently just got added to the student and young alumni program that's going to focus more on engagement with those hard to engage mid-career transitionals in providing opportunities for them within their workplace. In the alumni relations team as a whole, I think there's about 15 to 20,
yeah.
But they all work in different things. But the student and young alumni program that's really responsible for that, you're looking at a shop of 2 individuals.
Perfect. Thank you. As a reminder, our lovely ladies are from McGill, so they do have a fairly nicely staffed advancement team, including that alumni team. But it's nice, they did give some great examples about leveraging some programs and some associations that are already in place in order to make sure that they are really being efficient with their time and their energy. And so I think that might be the end of the questions. If there's anything that does come in, I do strongly urge you to get in touch with the presenters. If you would like to view the webinar again, you can always contact me and we are happy to send you the recording. Chelsea and Kay, thank you both very, very much for some great insight and background on this program itself. Wish you much continued success. And folks, I wish you all a very lovely afternoon and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tara. Thanks everybody for joining today.
And thank IA Financial too for helping us to be able to offer this.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you guys are most welcome. It's always very entertaining to actually sit, and because I actually take away items from your presentations as well. So well done. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you very much for supporting our initiatives. We appreciate it very much.